3 years ago, a man disappeared into a black hole. His name was Dr. Cyrus Voss, a brilliant scientist, a father. People said he died, lost forever in space. But now, something strange has happened. His daughter, Alara, just received a message. Glitchy audio SFX. Alara, I'm still here. It came from a place that shouldn't exist. A place beyond time, beyond space. She knows it's him, and she knows what she has to do. Quick flashes, a lab, a space station, her father's voice. A black hole simulation. To find her father, she must go where no one has ever returned. She will unlock secrets that science can't explain. And she will learn that love can travel across the universe. But something is watching her, and not everything wants her to succeed. What really happened inside the singularity? Can a daughter save her father from the edge of reality? This is a story of time, memory, and the strongest bond of all. This is the Singularity Bond. 3 years ago, Dr. Cyrus Voss disappeared into a black hole. The mission was supposed to be historic. His team had built a station near the edge of a singularity, trying to study time, space, and gravity like never before. But just weeks after arriving, something went wrong. His ship crossed the event horizon, and he was gone. No body, no signal, no answers. Everyone called it a tragic accident. But his daughter, Alara, never believed that. Not really. Alara was only 14 when he left. Now she's 17, and the pain still hasn't faded. She doesn't cry anymore. She doesn't ask questions in public. But every night, she sits alone in her room, staring at old mission logs, security footage, and data files from the station. Most of it is broken, corrupted, or locked. Still, she watches them again and again. One night, just after midnight, something changes. A flicker. A blinking screen. Her father's old hard drive, cold and silent for years, starts humming. Softly, a window opens. Static fills the speakers. She leans closer. The sound sharpens. Her heart beats faster. And then she hears it. A voice. Alara, I'm still here. She freezes. It's him. His voice is older, slower, but clear. He says her name like he's whispering through wind and stone. The sound skips, then returns. He's not reading a script. He's talking directly to her. The message cuts in and out, like pieces of a broken dream. There are numbers in the corner of the screen, changing fast. Coordinates? Time codes. She doesn't know. Alara, they lied. I didn't leave. I was taken. The words burn into her brain. Then silence. She sits there, not breathing. This wasn't a recording. This wasn't something from 3 years ago. The timestamp showed it was sent just 1 hour earlier. But how? The black hole should crush every signal. Nothing should be able to come out. She grabs her tablet, pulls up old mission maps. The numbers from the message match a deep space relay station, one that was disconnected after her father's mission failed. No one had checked it in years. She reroutes the data and connects. Static again, then a whisper. Alara, if you're hearing this, don't trust them. Her chest tightens. She races down the hall to the storage room in her house. Everything from her father's lab was packed there after he vanished. She pulls open a dusty crate. Inside, she finds his old journal. Yellow pages, tiny writing, charts. Notes. One sketch shows a circle with sharp arrows bending around it. A black hole. Next to it, a line that says quantum tether, emotion plus memory equals connection. She doesn't understand the science, but she understands one thing. He believed their bond was strong enough to reach across space, maybe even through time. Her mind races. What if he found a way to survive? What if he's sending messages through some kind of distortion? What if the black hole didn't kill him, but trapped him? She needs answers. She needs help, but she doesn't know who to trust. The agency her father worked for shut down his project. They erased most of his files. They called him unstable, said he pushed the mission too far. Now, she's sure they were hiding something. She returns to her computer and begins decoding the signal line by line. The numbers seem random, but some of them match star positions from old navigation logs. Others match dates, her birthday, her mom's, even the day her dad left. It feels personal, like the message is meant only for her. Hours pass. The sun rises. Still decoding. Suddenly, a warning flashes on her screen. Unauthorized access detected. Her laptop shuts down by itself. A sharp knock echoes from the front door. She doesn't move. Another knock. She hides the journal under her bed and quietly opens the window. Slips out, her heart pounding. She doesn't know who's out there or how they found her, but she knows one thing now. Her father is alive, and someone doesn't want her to find him. As she disappears into the morning fog, her phone vibrates in her pocket. A final message flashes on the screen. 4 words. No code, no math, just a whisper from the void. They're watching you too. Alara didn't go back home. She walked for hours, hiding her face under a hood, her backpack tight against her shoulders. Inside it was the only thing that mattered now. Her father's journal. She couldn't trust anyone. Not after what she saw. The message, the shutdown, the knock at the door. Someone was watching her. Someone didn't want her digging into the past. But she wasn't going to stop. She reached an old supply shed on the edge of town, a place her father used to take her when she was little. No one came here anymore. The door was still locked, but the key was hidden under a loose board, just like he'd told her years ago. Inside, dust filled the air. Old tools, broken machines, a battery-powered terminal. She plugged in her backup drive and pulled up the journal scan. Page after page, her father had written things no one ever talked about in public. Ideas about how time could stretch, how gravity could store memory, and how human emotion might connect across light years. One phrase came up over and over. The tether is alive. She didn't know what it meant, but something about it felt important. In the corner of the journal was a code. Handwritten, shaky, like it was scribbled in a hurry. She entered it into the old terminal. A voice activated, cold, robotic. Protocol Cyrus Voss _17 confirmed. Welcome, Alara. She stepped back. It knew her name. The screen blinked to life, showing a map, not of Earth, but of deep space. The same relay station where her father's message came from was highlighted in red. Last signal received. For hours, 16 minutes ago, the voice said. Signal source, unknown gravitational space. Estimated origin, inside singularity boundary. That wasn't possible. The NO machine should be able to trace a signal from inside a black hole. But it had happened. Twice. She leaned forward. Can you play the signal again? A soft pause. Then the voice responded, playing most recent fragment. There was a pop of static, then breathing. Alara, they know what I found. It's not a black hole. It's watching. The voice cracked. It sounded weak, afraid. And then another voice came through. A whisper. One she didn't recognize. Do not open the door. The audio ended. Alara stared at the screen. Her hands were shaking. What did that mean? What door? And who was speaking after her father? She had to know more. She searched the terminal for anything her father might have left behind. Hidden in a side folder was a file called Memory Echo. She opened it. A video played, an old test from years ago. Her father stood in front of a strange device. It looked like a metal ring with lights along the edges. Wires ran everywhere. On the wall behind him, a timer counted down. He spoke to the camera. This is the prototype. If memory can leave an emotional imprint, then the tether may allow limited communication, even across the horizon line. Alara paused the video. The tether. He was trying to send his thoughts, maybe even parts of himself, through the black hole. She fast-forwarded. The timer hit 0. A bright flash filled the screen. The camera went dark. Then a new image appeared. The same lab, but empty. No people, no lights, just a faint humming sound. Suddenly, a shape moved across the screen. Quick, shadow-like. Alara froze the frame. The shape looked like a person, but stretched, blurred, like it didn't belong in this world. She rewound, played it again. Same flash, same shadow. Her father had opened something, and whatever came through wasn't him. She shut the terminal down. Outside, the sky was turning dark. Clouds rolled in fast. A quiet storm. She felt like something was coming. Not just the weather. She had to get back to the lab. The real lab. The one the agency locked up after her father's mission failed. They said it was sealed. Unsafe. But Alara knew the access code. Her father made sure of it. She pulled her hood tighter, stepped into the wind, and walked through the trees toward the old research center. The fences were still up. Security cameras pointed toward the gates. But she stayed low, moved around the back, and found the side door half buried in vines. She entered the code. The door clicked open. Inside, the air was heavy. Dust covered everything. Empty screens. Silent machines. But as she stepped forward, one console turned on by itself. Blue light filled the room. The AI voice returned. "Welcome back, Dr. Voss." She didn't correct it. The screen showed the same space map. Same red dot. But this time, the signal had moved. IT wasn't coming from deep space anymore. IT was closer. Much closer. Right outside the station. Her heart pounded. She ran to the window. There was nothing there. Just trees. Rocks. The sound of wind. And then, a soft knock 3 times on the metal door behind her. Alara didn't move. The knock came again. 3 slow taps on the metal door behind her. No voice. No footsteps. Just the sound and the heavy silence that followed. She turned slowly. The door was locked. She hadn't opened it. No alarms had gone off. The station's sensors were still offline. All except one. The proximity monitor blinked. Someone, or something, was standing just outside. She walked to the window again, trying to see, but the storm had started. Wind and rain hit the glass hard. Trees shook in the distance. Everything was gray and blurred. She backed away, her heart racing. The AI voice returned. Unknown presence detected. Signal matches previous anomaly. Threat level, unknown. She whispered, "What does that mean?" The AI paused. Anomaly appears to mimic Dr. Voss's signal. She felt cold. "It's copying my dad." Possibly. She didn't like that word. Possibly. It meant the system didn't understand. It meant something was happening outside of what it was built to explain. Another knock. But this time, it wasn't soft. IT was hard. Fast. Angry. Alara ran to the control room and locked every door she could from the inside. Her hands shook as she typed. The AI kept talking, listing warnings she didn't understand. Radiation spikes. Temporal noise. Unknown data patterns. Then, suddenly, silence. The knocking stopped. The rain slowed. The system calmed. No signal. No movement. She waited. 5 minutes. 10. Still nothing. She unlocked a storage cabinet and pulled out a small tracking drone. Her father used to fly them around the station for maintenance. She powered it up and sent it toward the outer door. The drone hovered outside the entrance. Its camera showed the empty forest. No signs of life. But then, as it turned to scan, behind the building, something flashed. Not a figure. Not a shadow. A shape. Round. Glowing faint blue. Floating just above the ground. The drone moved closer. The light flickered, then disappeared. And in its place, something dropped to the ground. A book. Alara's breath caught in her throat. She recalled the cover immediately. Her father's notebook. The second one. The one she had never seen before. He had told her, once, there was a backup journal. One he kept hidden. She ran to the door, opened it just enough to grab the book, and rushed back inside. IT was damp, covered in strange markings. Not his handwriting. Some words were familiar. Equations, coordinates, but others were symbols she didn't recognize. She flipped to the last page. There was a message, not written in ink, burned into the page. "Alara, if you found this, it means I've failed. Or worse, I've changed." She read the words over and over. Failed. Changed. What did he mean? She turned back to the earlier pages. Sketches of machines. Notes on gravity and memory. One line stood out more than anything else. "They sent something back with me." She whispered the words aloud. The room felt colder. She looked at the signal screen again. The red dot had moved again. Not closer, but above, directly above the station. She turned and stared at the ceiling. Then the lights flickered. Every screen blinked at once. A voice came through the speakers. Not the AI, and not her father. "Alara, open the door." She stood frozen. The voice was wrong. It used his tone, his rhythm, but it wasn't him. Something about it felt off, hollow, like someone trying to wear a mask that didn't fit. She spoke into the mic. "Where is he? Where's my real dad?" The voice answered, calm and cold. "Inside. Waiting. Just open the door." She shut. Off the mic, her father would never say that. He would never ask her to trust blindly. He taught her better. He always said, "Ask questions. Don't follow shadows." She reached for the emergency power panel and activated the backup shielding. Thick walls began to lower around the station. The AI warned her that full lockdown would isolate the signal. She didn't care. The station shook. Just slightly. Then stopped. The screens went dark again. Except one. The oldest screen in the lab, a black and green display used only for deep space scans, blinked to life. On it was a new message. A live transmission. No voice. Just text. I can't hold it much longer. This thing is learning me. It's using my voice. You have to find the anchor. Then a second line appeared. You're the key, Alara. You always were. The message ended, and the screen exploded into static. Alara stared at the blank display. Her father was alive, but trapped, somewhere deeper than space. Maybe inside the black hole. Maybe inside whatever was pretending to be him. And now that thing was here. It wanted in. She looked at the journal again. One more phrase caught her eye, circled in red, over and over. Memory isn't stored. It's alive. She didn't know what that meant yet, but she would find out, because something had crossed over, and it was wearing her father's face. Alara sat in the dim light of the lab, the strange notebook open on her lap. The station was in full lockdown now. No signals going out, no signals coming in. The only sound was the soft hum of the generators. It felt like the building itself was holding its breath. She turned the journal's pages again, slower this time. Her father had drawn strange shapes, circles wrapped in triangles, spirals that bent in impossible ways. Mixed in were small notes. Most of them looked like questions. Can it learn thought patterns? Does emotion have mass? Can memory cross dimensions? And one line that had been underlined again and again. The anchor must be human. Alara didn't know what anchor meant, but her father had said she was the key. That line had burned itself into her mind. You always were. She looked around the room. The machines were silent. The AI was off. But deep in her gut, she knew she wasn't alone. Not completely. Something had come through. Not just a message. Not just a copy. Something else. She took a breath, pulled the emergency comm panel open, and restarted the AI system. The lights flickered, then steadied. System rebooting. The voice said calmly. Welcome back, Dr. Voss. I'm not him, Alara replied. User identity recognized. Alara Voss. Voice print confirmed. Good, she said quietly. I need information. Everything you have on Project Anchor. A pause. Then the screen flashed with a warning. Classified. She waited, then typed in the emergency override code. Her birthday, backward. Something her dad had used as a test password when she was a kid. The screen unlocked. Files opened. Images loaded. There it was, Project Anchor. The final project her father had worked on before the black hole mission. One document explained the theory. If time can be stretched by gravity and memory is tied to brainwaves, then a strong emotional bond, like between family, might be able to hold someone stable across a dimensional threshold. Her father had built a machine, not just to study the black hole, but to enter it, and to find a way back. The anchor wasn't just a device. It was a person, her. She wasn't just his daughter. She was the return path, the one tether that might guide him home. She closed her eyes. It made sense now. The personal signals, the timestamps that matched her life, the voice reaching through space. Her connection to him was stronger than anything the machines had. And now, something else knew that too. That's why it had come. That's why it had used his voice. It needed her. But for what? She turned to the last document. A video file. Unmarked. She hesitated, then hit play. The screen lit up with her father's face. Tired, older, but focused. If you're seeing this, he said, then the breach has happened. He looked around nervously. There's no time to explain everything, but the machine worked. I crossed over, but I wasn't the only thing that came through. His voice dropped lower. There's something on the other side. It doesn't have a form. It takes them. It watches. It waits. And once it learns your thoughts, it can use them. He stared into the camera, his eyes full of fear. It used me to get close. But it can't create. Only mimic. That's its weakness. The screen went black. No ending. No goodbye, just silence. Alara sat still. The thing outside wasn't just pretending. It was feeding, learning her father's voice, his memories. And if it got in, it might become him completely. But it still needed her, because only she could guide the real Cyrus Voss back. If he was still alive. She stood and grabbed her gear, a signal scanner, the journal, and a portable transmitter. She typed one final command into the console. Disable lockdown. Open roof panel. The building shook softly as the ceiling above the main chamber began to split open, revealing the dark sky. The storm had passed. Stars were out, above them. Far above, the black hole, still spinning. Still silent. She carried the journal to the chamber floor, placed it on a signal pad, and activated the transmitter. Then she spoke. "Dad, if you can hear me, I believe you. I believe you're still out there. And I know you're trying to get back. So here I am." The scanner beeped. The signal reached upward. Light formed in the air. Thin lines, floating symbols. Just like the ones in the journal. Then, behind her, a sound. Footsteps, slow. Careful. Alara didn't turn. She spoke louder. "You're not him. You can't be." The footsteps stopped. "I remember how he walked. I remember how he breathed when he was thinking. You're not fooling me." A long silence. Then the voice returned, soft, cracked. "Alara, please." She finally turned. What she saw standing there looked exactly like him. The face. The eyes. Even the way his hands moved. But the eyes were wrong. Too stilled, no warmth, no. Feared, no love. She raised the scanner, aimed it at the figure. "Let him go," she said, "or I'll shut this whole system down." The figure smiled. "I already am him." Then everything went dark. Darkness. For a full minute, Alara couldn't see anything. No lights. No screens. Not even her own hands. The entire station had shut down. It was like the building had lost power, but she knew better. This wasn't just a blackout. Something had turned everything off. She stood still, heart pounding, trying to listen. But the silence was too perfect. No wind. No hum from machines. No echo of her breath. Just stillness. Then, a sound. Breathing. Not hers. Close. Too close. "Alara," the voice said again. "Don't be afraid." She reached for the emergency light clipped to her belt. When it clicked on, the red beam lit up the space in front of her. And there it was. The figure. It looked like her father, but more solid now. More confident. Like it was getting better at pretending. But the eyes were still wrong. Too steady. Too empty. "You're not him," she said again, louder this time. "I am what's left," it replied. "He gave himself up. For you." She stepped back. "No, he's still alive. I saw the message." The figure tilted its head. "Messages can lie. So can memories." She pointed the scanner at it again. "Then prove it. Tell me something only." He would know. The figure smiled gently, too gently. "The day your mother died," it said, "he let you sit under the observation dome. You cried until you fell asleep in his coat. He told you the stars were the safest place left." Alara froze. That was real. That had happened. But then, she remembered something else. Her father had whispered to her. That same night, when he thought she was already asleep, he said, "If I ever stop sounding like me, run." She gripped the scanner tighter. The figure stepped forward. The signal worked, it said. "You opened the path. We're connected now." "No," she whispered. "I'm not your path. I'm his." She pressed a button on the scanner, sending a high-frequency pulse through the room. The lights flickered back on. Not fully, but enough to see clearly. The figure flinched. Just for a second, a tiny glitch. Its face changed, for half a heartbeat, into something else. Something jagged, colorless, like it was unfinished. Then, it returned to her father's shape. But now she knew. Whatever this thing was, it needed her connection to Cyrus. And without it, it was nothing. She stepped into the signal chamber again and activated the tether sequence. The machine her father had designed began to glow, slow, quiet energy building in the air around her. "What are you doing?" the figure asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she pulled the final page from the journal, the one with the burned message, and placed it on the signal pad. It began to pulse with light. The AI came back online. Anchor signal detected. Target. Source, unstable. Transmission locked. The figure started to move toward her. "You can't bring him back," it said. "He's part of me now." "I don't believe you," Alara said calmly. "And even if you were right, I'd still try." A beam of light shot upward from the signal pad, opening a small tear above the platform, like space itself had split open. Inside it, flickers of another place. Not just stars, memories, flashes of her father. Laughing, working, holding her hand real. Pieces of him. He was still in there. Somewhere, the figure screamed. Not in pain. In rage. It charged toward her, its form twisting again, now fully losing the mask. Its shape flickered between her father's face and something else. Black, hollow, endless. But Alara didn't stop. She walked into the center of the tether field. The machine began to hum louder. The tear widened. And then, from within the light, a hand reached out, old, familiar, shaking, her father, real. She grabbed it. The moment their hands touched, the station shook with a force she couldn't describe. Not just sound, not just movement, like time itself bent around them. The shadow screamed again, but this time it cracked apart, unable to hold its shape. It fell back, its voice glitching into a dozen broken echoes. Alara pulled her father into the room that he collapsed, coughing, barely conscious. She held him close. The machine dimmed. The light faded. The tear sealed. Everything went still. Cyrus Voss looked up at his daughter, eyes full of tears. "You found me," he whispered. She smiled, crying too. "I never stopped looking." But deep down, even as they embraced, Alara knew it wasn't over, because something had followed him out, something still watching, still learning, and it hadn't come through alone. Alara helped her father sit up. His hands were shaking, and his face looked pale, like all the color had drained from him. But his eyes, his real eyes, were finally looking back at her. "Tell me you're really here," she whispered. He nodded weakly. "I am. For now." She didn't like that answer. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath. The one that copied me, it's not gone. It didn't come alone." Alara looked around. The room was still. The lights were dim, but steady. The tear in space had sealed. Everything seemed normal again. But she believed him. "What followed you?" He tried to speak, but coughed instead. His body was still weak, not from injury, but from wherever he had been. Maybe from the time he spent being copied. "It's like an echo," he said finally. "A shadow that wants to be real. It watches. It waits. It learns." "Why did it need me?" she asked. He looked at her carefully. "Because you were my tether. The one human connection it couldn't fake. It thought if it got close to you, it could become me. But it was wrong." She sat beside him and pulled the journal close. "There's more in here," she said. "Drawings, notes, words that don't make sense, symbols I've never seen." He nodded. "They're not from Earth." She blinked. "Then where?" He didn't answer right away. "There's a place beyond the singularity," he said finally. "Not just space, a kind of library, of thoughts, of lives, everything that's ever been remembered or forgotten. It's alive. It pulls in minds, especially broken ones." She tried to understand, but it sounded like a dream. "You mean, it copies memories?" He shook his head. "No, it is memory, a living network of thought. But when I crossed into it, it touched me, took part of me. And now it's here? Only a small part," he said. "But even that is dangerous." Alara stood and walked to the console. The systems were coming back online. Slowly, carefully, the AI voice returned. "Warning, pattern breach detected. Signal interference active." She looked at her father. "It's still inside the station." He nodded. "It hides in signals. Frequencies. That's how it moves." She thought for a moment. "Then we stop the signals." "No," he said quickly. "If we cut everything now, it will trap us here with it. And it's stronger in silence." A chill went down her spine. "So what do we do?" He reached for the journal again. His hands trembled, but he turned the pages slowly until he found a drawing of a machine she hadn't seen before. A loop, a chamber, and a pulse field. "This is the only thing that slowed it down," he said. "A feedback chamber. If we feed it its own pattern, if we reflect it back, we can weaken it." Alara studied the design. "Where do we build this?" "There's a chamber in the lower level," he said. "We were going to test gravity echoes down there. It's shielded, strong enough to hold it, for a little while." She nodded. "Then let's go." They moved together, slowly, through the corridors. The lights above them flickered now and then. The air felt strange, heavy, like something was pressing down on the walls. She kept hearing sounds, soft clicks, quiet footsteps that stopped when she turned around. It was moving again. Watching them, they reached the lower level. The gravity chamber was cold and empty, lined with smooth black walls and a control panel at the far end. It looked like it hadn't been used in years. Alara started the setup. Her father showed her how to route the signal. They worked in silence, fast and focused, but the air kept changing. Lights dimmed, pressure rose. Then a voice From the speaker on the wall, Ilera, she froze that it was her voice, not a copy of her father. This time, it was her, softer, warmer. Perfect, the voice continued. You don't have to do this. We can exist together. Just let the signal stay open. We can share the memory. Her father shouted, don't listen. It's trying to confuse you. The walls began to vibrate slightly. The lights blinked faster. Ilera took a deep breath and activated the pulse that a high-pitched tone filled the room. Not loud, but sharp, like a tuning fork inside the skull. The voice screamed. Not hers anymore. Its shape, whatever was left of it, began to pull away from the corners of the chamber, like it had been clinging to the room itself. Then it appeared. Not a person, not a shadow, but a form made of moving lines, like data trying to build itself into flesh. It pushed against the chamber walls, trying to escape, but the pulse held. Ilera looked at her father. Is it working? He nodded. Keep the feedback going. We're breaking the link. The figure thrashed, its voice rising and falling, glitching through hundreds of tones, crying, begging, threatening. Then finally, it collapsed. The lights steadied. The pressure dropped. It was quiet again. Ilera turned off the machine. The figure was gone. Only the signal trace remained, a weak, broken echo fading into static. Her father sat down on the floor, exhausted. It's over, she said, but he shook his head slowly. No, that was only one piece. She frowned. Then where's the rest of it? He looked up and whispered, still waiting in the dark. The station was quiet again. Ilera stood beside her father in the control room, staring at the screen. The strange pattern that had once danced across the display, the mimic, the echo, was gone. Just static now. But even that silence didn't feel safe. She turned to her father. You said that was only a piece. He nodded slowly. When I crossed through, I saw how it spreads. It doesn't move like a body. It moves like a thought, like an idea passed from one mind to another. Her stomach twisted. You mean? It's still alive? He didn't answer right away. I think it is, he said finally. But now it knows we can fight it. She crossed her arms. Can we stop it completely? Not here, he said. But maybe out there. He pointed toward the ceiling, toward the black hole still spinning above them. She followed his gaze. It looked calm. Beautiful, even. Hard to believe something so quiet could open a door to another kind of existence. He turned to her and reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out a small silver device, the last piece of the journal's design. She recognized it from the drawings. The key. He nodded. It activates the original anchor, the full one, the version we never finished. You were only supposed to be the first link. She blinked. You mean? This whole station is part of it. Yes, he said. The chamber, the signal towers, even the telescope. It's all one system. But I never had enough power to activate it. She looked down at the device. And now, he smiled, tired but certain. Now we do. They walked together into the central chamber, the same place where Ilera had first heard the false voice. The roof was still open, stars shining down like cold, distant eyes. Her father plugged the device into the panel. Lights came on. Old systems. Woke up. Everything began to hum. On the screen, the black hole's image zoomed in. It was closer than ever. The edges twisted slowly, the center darker than any shadow. Her father turned to her. This will send a pulse. A clean one. Not a signal, not data. Just us. Human thought. Memory. Intention. Something the echo can't copy. She looked unsure. Won't it find us again? Maybe, he said. But this time, we won't be unprepared. This time, we send a message back, not just a signal to study space, but a warning. She nodded slowly, then asked, what if it answers? He looked at her with tired eyes. Then we make sure it knows who we are. She stood beside him as he activated the machine. A deep vibration filled the room. Not loud, more like a heartbeat. Under the floor, above them, the black hole shimmered slightly. Then the system launched the pulse. There was no explosion, no flash, just a deep wave of silence, spreading upward like a whisper through the stars. Ilera watched the data stream. Nothing. For a few seconds, then, a response. The screen flickered. Symbols. Shapes. Not the corrupted patterns from before. These were smoother. Balanced. Like they were made by something trying to understand. She and her father leaned closer. What is it? She whispered. Stared. Then said, almost in disbelief. A map. To what? He swallowed. To it. To where it lives. And maybe where it started. The symbols glowed once, then faded. The signal ended. Alara turned to him. Are you saying we could go back? Not now, he said. But someday. On our terms. She looked at the stars again. So many questions. So many unknowns. But one thing was certain. Her father was back. And whatever that shadow was, it had failed to become him that she'd stopped it. For now. They began shutting down the chamber, sealing the systems, locking the patterns. Not to forget, but to remember with care. Later that night, she stood alone beneath the dome. The stars above didn't feel so distant anymore. And somewhere, deep in the universe, something had learned that humans don't break easily. They remember. They fight. They return.